All right. Anyone who doesn't want to be recorded, please drop. Hey, everybody. The Legend of Steve Jobs tells me that it's 7 minutes after the hour. I'd like to thank you for attending this evening. I'm on a laptop, and in order to give you the best experience, I'm not able to see the chat or hands being raised. So just yell out if you have questions. I'm Harry Dosher. I'm the um, education chairman for the Project Management Network. And we're going to be covering two topics tonight out of Chapter 2. And then on Monday, we're going to finish up Chapter 2 and start Chapter 3, just a few slides of Chapter 3. So if you like reading ahead, that's the plan. All right. The first topic is forming a team. So as part of this, what we want to be able to do as project managers is to create a collaborative team culture so that the work gets done more efficiently and hopefully people will have a good time doing it. So with predictive approaches, project manager is responsible for building the team agreements, all the structures and processes that support a culture that enables individuals to work together and benefit from interactions. Okay. And the project manager also tailors a resource management plan. And we'll get into the resource management plan in a few slides here. With predictive methods, the project manager is the one in control. All of these things are the responsibility of the project manager, and the team just does requirements development and testing. With an adaptive approach, all of this really falls on the team itself because the team self-organizes and creates features and then pulls those whatever they're going to work on next from a backlog, and they will then develop user stories to complete those features. So we shift from project manager responsibility for everything to team responsibility for everything. Okay. Got a question here. How do you think a collaborative team approach culture can be created in a hybrid approach? And anybody?
Group chat.
Elaborate on that if you would, please.
I guess in a hybrid situation like this class right now, we're not in the same room together, but we could have a group discussion about a different topic via the group chat.
Yeah. Yeah, that can be part of it. A hybrid approach uses both the predictive and the adaptive methods. So you've got the project manager who's organizing things, and one or more teams that are going to be doing all of that on their own. So that's a hybrid team. Someone else.
when when we were working, and you haven't gotten into Safe Agile 10 yet, but when we were working through that, we did a hybrid approach because we were all working toward creating features with benefits, right? Whatever the outcome is that you want of that. So that collaboration there was a bigger collaboration and then sometimes smaller team collaboration. Back to the point he made, we did it both in person and in team sessions. And I think of that when I think about the hybrid approach of doing it, what you're working toward. You have somebody who might steer the ship a little bit, but mostly you have to come up with what those relevant features are to achieve whatever that really high level expectation is.
Mm-hmm. Take it a level above that. I mean, the overall culture of a collaborative team with both the predictive and the adaptive teams. Think about who may be best to establish that. Giving hints here.
Meaning your project manager sets the culture.
Project manager.
Okay. What would be required of a project manager to be able to do that?
Have the ability to well, it says it right there, to build team agreements. In my experience, maybe to put a team together, like a cross-functional team.
Yeah. How about making sure that all of what the people who are working in a predictive manner know about what the adaptive teams are doing and vice versa? Being involved with both and bringing them together when necessary. Whether it's virtual or whether it's all if they're co-located. Okay. But project manager, if you've got a hybrid team, then project manager should take the initiative to make sure that everybody's involved, everybody knows what everybody else is doing, and make sure you actually have team building events that include both. Don't be afraid to offer. I mean, everybody benefits when we can talk about this. And I'm patient. I'm in a lounge chair. I've got a blanket, and I've got until 8:15 today. So please speak up, because I'm very patient. Okay, we have a video that we want to watch here. And I need to get stuff. I'm going to reshare and include sound this time. Okay. Let me. Let me see if I can get this guy going here. Let me know if you can hear.
Not yet.
No, not yet.
I guess there is no sound. I can't hear it either, so. Originally, Tuckman put the, well,
be vital to helping it become a high-functioning team.
there we go.
Back in 1965, a psychologist named Bruce Tuckman observed that teams go through 5 stages: forming, storming, norming, performing, and adjourning. Tuckman didn't just have a knack for rhyming, although that does make his model easier to remember. Understanding and supporting the team through each phase can be vital to helping it become a high-functioning team. Initially, the team is introduced. Everyone is polite, pleasant, even eager. This is the forming stage, when most team members are excited to start something new and get to know the others. Then, of course, reality sets in. During the storming phase, the weight of the task at hand sinks in. The initial excitement and the need to be polite wear off. Soon enough, people start to notice and appreciate each other's strengths. This is the norming stage, when the group starts to settle into a groove. Everyone is contributing and working as a cohesive unit. Eventually, the new team's members are confident and familiar enough with the project and their team that they can operate without supervision. This is the performing stage, when everyone on the team is on the same page and driving full speed ahead toward the final goal. In 1977, Tuckman added a 5th state, adjourning. Sadly, not a perfect rhyme. This phase is sometimes known as mourning because the team members have grown close and feel a loss now that the experience is over. The point of having a team is to work together. Understanding how teams develop and supporting that development is key to helping your team mature into the high-performing team it should be.
Okay. It's probably to everyone's advantage to remember forming, storming, norming, performing, and adjourning. You may see that on the test, not in exactly that form, but you need to know what each stage consists of. You know, the forming, the storming, the norming, the performing, and adjourning.
Back in 19...
Oh, we heard about Bruce already. All right. Some of the key concepts of forming an adaptive team. Is mostly adaptive, but notice that these concepts can be applied to any kind of project team. Now, since adaptive teams are self-organizing, what you need to do is form a cross-functional team. Leadership can change. Somebody who's, for example, if you're using Scrum, could be a Scrum Master for part of it. And perhaps at some point in time, their technical talents may be needed for the completion of the project, in which case another team member can step up and be a Scrum Master. Same thing for product owners. And especially for people who are doing development and testing. Those with an adaptive team, there is no real distinction. The team doesn't complete something and turn it over to testing. That's still waterfall. That's still predictive. So you need to be able to integrate development, testing, running the team, and working with product management. The concept of servant leadership is where everyone needs to be a servant leader in a team. The key role is, say, a Scrum Master or coach who really concentrates on what the team needs and to work on both the technical and non-technical development of the team. Okay. We want to be able to optimize performance. We want to deliver the most value that we can from the team. So let's talk a little bit about the project manager role in adaptive teams. Okay. With if you've some of the leadership and management is centralized. Okay, you can have two different kinds, centralized and distributed. Centralized, all the team members practice the leadership activities, and accountability is assigned to one individual, such as the project manager or a similar role like a team lead. Okay. That's one way of doing it. There's also distributive, where it's what I was just talking about, where team members may change roles throughout the life of the project. Some questions. And remember, I'm patient until somebody speaks up. If a team is self-organizing, is a project manager needed? If not, which of these models work best? If yes, what does the role look like? So the first one's an easy one. Yes or no?
Yes.
Okay. Now I'm going to ask you to elaborate on that. Why you think that?
Even if a team self-organizes, they still need somebody to guide them and keep them all focused on the goals, objectives, and everything.
Mm-hmm. Okay, that's good. Remember, this is PMI who's putting these out. So project manager works well with either way, the centralized or the distributed. In the distributed, it's more keeping the teams on track and working with, say, a Scrum Master, or if it's a Kanban effort, to be able to make sure that things are still progressing. If you're going for a pure adaptive approach, you'll find some things are different. If you've taken any SAFe courses, then you'll hear a slightly different story to this. But for the exam, and that's all we're talking about in this class, is think that look at the roles that a project manager would have in the centralized leadership and management model, okay? And in the distributed. All right. Let's take a look at an example of hybrid team formation. So the definition is a centralized coordination by a project manager, or team lead, and self-organized project teams for portions of the work. So we're trying to take advantage of the best that predictive gives us and the best that adaptive gives us. Project team composition refers to how the team is made up and how the team members are brought together. Now this varies based on factors that weigh on the organization of the team. Where if the organizational culture is such that they have a certain way of bringing people together, and or in a certain location, if they require everybody to be co-located, like in Atlanta or Dallas or Bothell, and what the scope of the effort is. If it's a small effort, um, you know, you won't have as many issues about bringing a team together. If you just have one team, say 10 to 12 people, it's a lot easier to manage things rather than if you've got uh, non-co-located team members. Okay. The concept, know this for the test, that a team can have full-time or part-time members. That it's best if you can get people full-time. We know that some of the subject matter experts are pulled in many directions at one time, and that at times is not possible. Now, when you're putting together a team, you want a diverse team. You'll usually have a team composed of specialists who understand the problem space and may have a depth of expertise in, say, one technical area that's required to deliver the product. And you need some generalists in there too, people who can address various aspects of the project. Okay. May not have the depth of understanding that the specialists have, but at the same time, they're aware of those areas and understand how things fit together. So let's talk about the roles in a project team. PMI divides it into 4 areas: what they call project management staff, the project work staff, supporting experts, and business partners. We're going to talk here about identifying project resource requirements, give some guidelines for that. Okay. What we need to do with any project is to make sure that we bring together the team members and the external contractors and suppliers and any physical assets that we need and any intangible assets that we need, like time. Physical assets can be in software development, the proper labs, proper lab equipment. Remember too that the vast majority of PMI members are involved in other industries such as construction. There's a huge number of PMPs who never touch anything close to IT. So what you want to make sure is that you've got the right skills represented in the team. And that if you lose any one of the team members, that the rest of the team can pick up that responsibility for them. So call it avoid single points of failure. So you want to be able to, and if you're working, well, either way, in a predictive or an adaptive project, you want to be able to develop the team's capabilities so that a single point of failure won't occur. What we want to do is create cross-functional teams so that we don't have the old testing isolated from development. The terms here: generalizing specialists. Use those to support other areas of the project. So the specialists here will have a breadth of knowledge across the entire effort. So if we're putting together a large system or doing a huge project, construction project, that what we're talking about with a generalizing specialist is someone who has a depth of knowledge in one or more areas and has the scope, the knowledge, the breadth of knowledge across the effort that's being constructed. And there's another thing here: use T-shaped people wherever possible, whenever possible. T-shape refers to someone who has a depth of knowledge in one area and has the broader sense of what's needed in the project and can contribute no matter what the team's working on. One of the things, the intangible assets that they mention here are things like access rights. If you're constructing a building, putting up a even putting up a cell tower or locating something in an urban area, you have to really be sure that you have the access rights. And as we mentioned before, you have the right equipment to be able to deliver the project. So they go through. I'll get this yet. We're going to do this without the laser pointer. All right.
Harry.
Yeah.
Can you show the notes that come across? That was page 28.
Yeah, that's what I was trying to do.
Oh, okay.
Okay. This should be in your workbook in the student bundle. These definitions are called out there, and on the slides, they should be, usually they put them on the left. But again, their definition of a generalizing specialist refers to a project team member who has a particular area of deep expertise, but also has experience in many other areas. that may not be directly related to their core area. Okay, so in the old telco systems, someone may have a depth of knowledge in, say, geez, let me go back about 100 years. And back in the old days where we had, what was it?
Air pressure.
Anyway, when you're changing numbers, just expertise in what's required, how to change, how to provision someone in a different system. And they would have a breadth of knowledge that covers the entire like telco system. Okay. In PMI's words, the generalizing specialists are types of people who are valued on agile projects because of their ability to be interchangeable, that you can take on various roles and make various contributions. And the definition of T-shaped refers to a person whose skill set comprises one area, the specialization, and broad ability in the other skills required by the team. So always know what the PMI definitions are, and because the test itself, everything is a situational question. So you need to know all the definitions to really get to really pass the test. Excuse me. Right. Let's talk about T-shaped people and self-organizing teams, because self-organizing teams are really the antithesis of the of what the classic predictive methods require, because you've got the project manager who's responsible for doing all the organization for the entire project. So T-shaped people provide individual value and versatility on project teams. It gives the organization, they give the organization more flexibility, because with their breadth of knowledge, they can assist in areas where they don't have necessarily the depth of knowledge. They also help avoid key resources shortages, by lending their expertise, or work stoppages due to availability of people. That's where the breadth of knowledge comes in. Also, if you've got T-shaped people, use them to work with the team members who don't have perhaps the depth of expertise, and help them develop their skills. Now we're going to talk about DE and I, which is really prominent in AT&T. Okay. With diversity brings a lot to a team, and you see the example here with people perhaps from all over the world, different backgrounds, different age, that where someone who's been around can bring in the breadth and depth of knowledge that they've acquired over a number of years. And if you've got someone who's relatively new, they can bring in some new and different concepts that they've learned. So everyone benefits. What we need to do as project managers and team members is to be able to take advantage of that. And what we want to be able to do is make sure that we include everyone in things like activities, briefings, and make them actually realize that they're an important part of the team. Um, Another topic, experts and expert judgment. There are some people who have just a lot of expertise in an area, and that expertise has been acquired over a number of projects or a number of years. Those people, and um, maybe in other areas or departments of the organization, we can use them as consultants, and that can be an internal or external consultant. The stakeholders themselves, you know, the business owners, the everybody through there, uh, through associated with the project, are really can give you a lot of decision-making capabilities. I mean, for example, if the say you're working in a Scrum team, an adaptive project, that stakeholders, you use stakeholders to really get feedback on things that the team may feel are necessary to add to a particular effort, or if there's something that can't be included that was in the actual feature or user story. Well, they're the ones who can be the arbitrators. Um, you can lean on it if you need things like templates, or look at the what others in other industries or others in the same industry as you're doing, as you're working, that you can usually use professional or technical associations such as PMI, where they have courseware, they have templates, and a vast library of lessons learned, to address questions that you have. And you can always take a look at what similar projects that run across. So you can bring the knowledge acquired over for a project that either succeeded or better yet failed, so that you don't use those same don't hit those same traps in a project. And project manager, especially in a predictive project, ends up you know being more of an arbiter than in perhaps an adaptive. But they're a single point, single person who takes responsibility for the delivery of the overall effort. What we need to do is focus on team strengths. Every member of the team has a strength. You need to be able to uncover that and to appreciate and understand what they're bringing to the team. Okay. So there's a concept called SWOT analysis. It's very common in just about any industry. And what you do is if you go through a SWOT analysis, you'll create a grid, uh, like just a 4-cell grid, and you identify what the strengths of the team are, what the weaknesses of the team are, what opportunities you may have in addition to the exact deliverables that you've signed up to do. And you need to be able to identify any threats to the success of the project. You know, a threat could be in the form of another company in the industry coming up with a similar project and delivering a similar product. So there are a number of videos that are available on this, and there's a part of other training courses that go in depth on SWOT analysis. But know the terms, know what SWOT means, know uh, you know what you need to do here, organize the team around the team's strength, be aware of the weaknesses, and identify threats to team success and opportunities to improve team performance. Okay. What you know, teams, if you just get together and you don't have any uh, boundaries established, you usually get chaos. So part of forming a good, a well-running team is to um, get together and establish expected team behaviors at the beginning of the project. In agile efforts, we call that a working agreement. So what you want to do is think about what challenges you may have going forward. And if you're a remote team and your team members are spread out across the globe, we want to go through and lay down the expectations, um, the guidelines and the techniques for things like meetings, how we're going to communicate with each other, how we're going to communicate with leadership. What are we going to do in the event that we have a conflict? You know, the team members just go off into separate corners and do development on their own? Or do we establish a culture where we're able to have good debate and make conscious decisions on which way we want to go when there are conflicts? We want to state what our shared values are. Like bringing your best self to work each day, things like that. And uh, decision making ties in with conflict management, so that you know if you have half the team wanting to do it a certain way and the other half the team wanting to do it in a different way, you know, how do you make those decisions? Document this stuff up front. You can always change it based on your experience with each of these areas. Okay. What you really want to do is align the team values with the PMI Code of Ethics and Professional Conduct. Because if you're when you receive a PMP credential or when you earn it, one of the things that's required is that you agree to adhere to the PMI Code of Ethics and Professional Conduct. So what we want to be able to do is spread that culture, that those values throughout the entire team. Remember, there are core values. Okay, responsibility. Each person owning owning up to what they have to deliver, delivering it on time, and if there's a problem with it, do a retrospective basically and identify where things weren't met in the deliverables. Okay, own up to it. Don't just think about tossing it over the wall. Respect, that's for yourself and every team member. And respect what they have to say. Respect whatever personal situations they have, and make sure that everyone feels part of the team. Fairness, be sure that you treat people equally and don't favor one person over another. Or if you're working where you have to procure equipment or materials, be sure that you're working within the corporate guidelines and make sure that you're treating all the vendors fairly. Okay? And be honest in everything that you do. It does no one any good if you're not being honest at all. Okay. Now, in predictive and hybrid projects, I'm going to put together a team charter and ground rules. Okay. Team charter should be a one-page poster, an email, or just something. If anybody still remembers how to write, put it on paper. Team needs to be involved in the creation of it. It's not just one person who has this responsibility, and there's no dictator. Okay. So the team charter, they give a list of components here: the shared values, behavior guidelines, guidelines for communications, and use of any tools that you have for that effort. How you're going to be making decisions. What are the performance expectations that are needed, are expected from team members and from the project itself? I remember we talked about these before: conflict resolution measures, how we're going to resolve conflicts, including, and you need to include such mundane things as the meeting times, frequencies, and how you're going to be holding the meetings. And you're going to be face to face. Are you going to use Teams? Are you going to use Skype or Zoom, or exactly how and where? And how frequently you're going to be having these meetings. Will you have a status meeting once a week, or once a month, or every other week? Now, it needs to be documented so that everyone on the team has the same, can get to this when they need to make sure that they're being able to work in their most efficient manner. Okay, and then they always have miscellaneous. So if you've got your teams located in the U.S. and you've got people who are contributing, a part of the team, who are, say, in India or um, South America, different time zones, you need to be able to, you need to document what core hours you're going to have. So one thing that I've done when I've had really diverse teams is establish even 1 hour a day with a conscious handoff can be can be effective. And the other example they give is improvement activities where you have like team building or classes, things like that. Yeah. I'm not going to just read the definitions, but if there are any questions on that, I'll take them. Well, the ground rules, expectations regarding acceptable behavior by project team members, like making sure that you're covering core hours, that if you're required to be in the office 3 days a week, that that's part of the document that everyone in the team has access to and can refer to when they have questions. Now, if you've got a really big magnifying glass, you can read this team charter example. You should have this in a much more readable form in your workbooks. Okay.
Harry,
So
for those of us, sorry, there's
Yeah.
a plus sign on the bottom left of our screen. We as attendees can hit it, and it'll magnify the document.
Go for it.
Also, I have my workbook open, and it is much easier to read this version if you zoom in to Harry's than it is in the workbook, which only gets pixelated.
Oh, let's see if I can zoom in.
No, yours is excellent, and I agree. I can zoom into your screen, but the workbook version, it is fuzzier.
I mean, they didn't include the magnifying glass with the workbook? They were
No.
supposed to include a virtual magnifying glass.
Well, you can zoom in. It's just that it gets pixelated.
Yeah. So basically what we're saying that, I mean, this is a team charter. 1 or 2 pieces of paper, 1 or 2, electronic, or 1 or 2 pages on the document that you keep online. Just states the basics, what everybody needs to know about the team and the decisions that have been made. Okay. And over in, let's see if I can play with that again. Right here, let's start here. Just the basics. Team name, who the sponsor is, which can be very key, especially in the absence of whoever is working that relationship on a continuing basis. Say the project manager gets appendicitis and is out for a while. You really want to know who is sponsoring this project. Okay. How long do we have allocated? In this one, 36 months. How many members do we have on this team? And if you have, now let's go, we'll get back to that. I mean, this is just a summary. Then identifying what the scope of work is. So everyone knows what has to be delivered and what is not to be delivered. Making sure that the team can focus on what's really necessary. It's a real basic timeline and key milestones that this project must hit. Okay, anything like a demonstration to a customer, first customer delivery, things like that are milestones. I'm trying to read. Okay. Yeah. What are the reporting requirements? How often do you need to update status? Who needs to see that? Identifying basic things like the resources that are necessary and the what the budget is going to allow. And then there's a listing of the project team. What are, you know, what is the executive sponsor role in this particular project? Documenting what the project manager is going to be doing, what the other team members are going to be doing. And then any other team guidelines, I mean, the ground rules, any other team guidelines in communication. But it doesn't have to be elaborate. 2 pages usually does it, maybe 3 if you've got a huge project. But it's one document that people can refer to for the basic questions about the project itself. Were there any other questions on that? I know I jumped ahead pretty quickly. All right. Aspects of team communications. We have to be able to communicate in a number of different ways. And it's going to depend on who we're communicating with. Some people are more verbal, you know, they want to talk about things. Other people need something in writing that they can refer back to. And, you know, especially if you're co-located, you need to have at least one area that keeps the status of what the project is, making sure that everybody knows what that is. And if you've got a virtual team, you know, make sure that that the entire team has visibility into what the team is doing and what the progress is. On virtual teams, something that really helps is a Kanban board, where you can see where all the features and all of the stories are progressing, and where any of the difficulties are. You know, Kanban is basically a bulletin board. Again, we went over communications being a part of the team charter. What we want to be able to do is identify in there important who needs to be communicated with, especially outside the team. We also talk about here the collaborating and just overall organizing communications. In agile efforts, and in lean efforts, we always use the plan, do, check, adjust method. Okay. And that's really checking, checking pretty regularly to make sure things are working properly. It's both when you're delivering product to a customer and also someone like the project manager or say Scrum Master, product owner, assessing continuously whether or not the efforts being done by the project team are in line with what needs to be to deliver the value to the customer. with adaptive methods, the use of retrospectives is usually part of the way that the team will run. With predictive teams, you may need to plan a little bit more about to have retrospectives throughout the life of the project. Right? I know that I've been a member of the Agile Center of Excellence for a number of years, and retrospectives, when you're using Agile methods to develop a product, retrospectives are conducted every 2 weeks at a minimum. Sometimes you need it more often, especially if you're running into problems. Every time you make a delivery, you want to take a look at what went well, what didn't go well, and what needs to be changed to improve for the next the next 2 week period. And you also do retrospectives over an entire planning interval. So you need to be doing something similar to that if you've got if you're running a project using predictive methods too. So we talked about teams that are co-located, and the term that PMI uses for teams that are not co-located is the term virtual team. So what are some of the characteristics of each one? Virtual teams usually occur within any of the workplaces. I mean, even with AT&T development, ATS being concentrated now in, I guess, Bedminster, Atlanta, Dallas, and Bothell, you still have to interact. You have interaction between, people in any one of those areas. So, or if you're pulling a subject matter expert in from a different physical location. Okay. What you want to do is make sure, that a virtual team actually creates opportunities for the organization. And these things that they list here, these 3 characteristics, better skills at lower cost. And you may be able to bring in skills from an area that has a lower cost of living, so that you can pull people in. You don't have to relocate them to wherever the majority of the people are. And it helps preserve a work-life balance. So I know in ATS, the way we are working is that you can be remote for 2 days of the week and need to be in the office the other 3 each week. So, gives you an opportunity, if you're a virtual team, people don't have to fly in or relocate, and have impinging upon their free time, their outside of work time. Talking about on the next one is relying on something like Teams or Zoom or Skype, and being able to pick something that gives you a more the experience of actually you would have if you were co-located. And one of the things when I've been remote with teams, say, located in one geographic location is, you know, you don't have a water cooler that you can go to and just go to the cafeteria, have a cup of coffee, and bond with the rest of the team members, or have an external activity, to bond. So that got to be sure that you include all of the virtual workers in all of the team activities. So the characteristics of a co-located team is that naturally interaction is easy. You can always go up to somebody's work area, and if you need to talk to them, you can, grab a conference room or sit down there in just a cube there and work face to face. As part of that, you have the opportunities to go out for a cup of coffee or a beverage of your choice, and establish the bonds, human to human bonds a lot easier. You can look at people in the eye. You can develop those things even after work if you have the same interests, for example. Okay. And what you're able to do is use the physical tools easier, communications tools easier. Things like having physical boards that you use. A Kanban can be just done on a piece of paper. That may be sufficient for a co-located team, but each one has its drawbacks. Each one has its advantages. Now let's take a look at our definition here, if I can. I'll go to school on how to work my laser pointer. We'll get back there. My apologies for this. It's navigation. All right. Well, in the slider there and in your workbook, you should have definitions of effective communication and team charters. For some reason I've lost it. Oh, here we go. This is the one we were on. Definition of virtual team and co-location. Everyone can read these?
Yes.
Yes.
Stop me if you have questions. All right. So what we're going to talk about is some of the challenges if you have a virtual team. And the thing is, really, because of COVID-19, we've learned how to overcome a lot of these. Just you know, just having to have everyone virtual. The ones that they call out are individual performance tracking, where you don't have a leader or a supervisor, you know, within a short distance of you, where you can they can offer help to you. Um, you may have a team that's made up of people from all over the world, so that there may be some language barriers at, and that um, some of the technical skills may not be as homogeneous as if you were co-located. And it says solo working prohibits bonding. Know that if it comes up on the test, but based on having worked with virtual teams for more years than most of you have been alive, that the bonding can occur. It's always better if you can meet face to face. I had one project with a different company where the development and testing teams were located in Israel, and everybody else was located in the U.S. And what we ended up doing, because neither budget would allow for the team necessary people to fly all the way between the two, we did a little bit of digging and found a couple of different airlines that had very cheap flights to a common location. Happened to be Zurich, Switzerland. So team from Israel went to Zurich. We sent a team from the US to Zurich. They sat together and hammered things out, and made for a really good bonding experience. You make friends. You talk with them about what you know, both in work efforts and what their interests are outside of work, and it makes a big difference. There was the one. I don't know if it's still on. It was a show called 2020 on ABC, and the one thing that I remember from that is that it was shown in a slightly different sense, that when you're able to look into someone's their eyes, make eye to eye contact, that person becomes a human being to you, and that you will generally make a greater effort to fulfill your obligations when it's person to person. And the way they did that was that they were doing a story on the execution chambers in some various prisons. And one of the instructions that the head guard told his entire team, never look a prisoner in the eye, because at that point, that person the prisoner becomes a person to you, and it affects you emotionally and especially. And instead of escorting a prisoner to the death chamber, you're escorting a fellow human being, which is much more powerful. It involves more emotion than if you're able to just consider say a prisoner or a fellow team member as somebody on the end of a line, or not quite a human being because you've never met them face to face. So that's um, one of the things that we need to really concentrate on is building uh, a rapport with the other team members. Okay. Some of the ways that we can run virtual teams is to check with people individually as often as possible, and be able to conduct positive network building activities. So I've seen everything from having virtual coffee talks, to just after work go through and play some games, or just have uh, an activity where you can uh, learn more about your teammates. Um, an example is the Agile Center of Excellence. What we do every couple of weeks, we've got uh, we spotlight one person in the team, and they get to share what their interests are, what their expertise is. Give people a more intimate background of where they came from and what they like. Okay, what they're trying to achieve. Something like that we take about 15 minutes at the most, and rotate it around the team, um, and make sure people uh, get to know each other a little bit better, even if we're not co-located. Well, this is a statement that was basically put together before COVID, because we do this. I mean, just about everybody in the industry, in any industry, does this. Now, if you have a virtual team, you know, planning the team communications and collaboration methods. How are you going to be able to interact? When are you going to be interacting? Um, as I said, if you've got teams located in vastly different time zones, make sure that no one is suffering any more than anybody else, and uh, account for that. You know, be able to work with that time diversity to your advantage. As I said, I was working with a team in Israel, and they were finishing up at about the same time we were starting our work days. There was about an hour overlap, and the way we worked that was at the end of the U.S. working day, we'd put together, what we had done, and shipped it over to them, and they were able to work on it, and you know, correct anything that needed to be corrected, and ship it back at the end of their workday. And we had just a couple of hours in the day itself where we could get together and go over progress and challenges. So we've got tools that we can use, task boards, team meetings. Uh, well, we use chats all over the place with that. Keeping your calendar up to date where you can have visibility. If you're scheduling a meeting, using either Outlook or Teams, you can see the other person's schedule. At least, when they have free time, where you can suck some of that up for another meeting. Okay. Document storage. Teams addresses that. Documents can be stored within a Teams channel. Things like that, and also serving as repositories for what what knowledge the team has. I mean, being able to add documents to a central library, things like that. And believe it or not, some people can actually do video conferencing. Well, I keep my camera off so I don't scare anybody, but there are times when I subject people to that. Okay. Virtual team, what you want to be able to do is help collaboration work among the virtual team itself and any team members that may be virtual from the project staff itself. So really, it's all communications here that we're talking about, so that uh, having things, everybody included in establishing and understanding the goals that the team has, purpose for the team, and making sure that the uh, the virtual team members understand how they can contribute to the overall success of the team, and being able to document exactly what the roles and expectations are for each of the team members, both virtual and co-located. And yes, I'm going to speed up a little bit on the next section here because we don't have that much time left. You're supposed to keep me from talking too much, guys. Um, so um, uh, the exam content outline coverage, you've got that here, and you can refer back to the slides and the ECO to make the match up there that you need. All right, I'm talk about building shared understanding. Project manager is an arbiter. You've got to make sure that the team's needs are satisfied and the sponsor's needs are satisfied. Okay, but the way you can do that is making sure that you're a leader. Demonstrate the leadership behaviors that you need to do that. Definitely focus on value, where you want to cut out as much overhead as possible. You want to use lean methods and principles. And one of the first things, the first characteristic of a safe effort, if you're doing an agile effort, is take an economic view of whatever you do. Okay. Respect people. Don't let people get away with anything, basically. Be diligent about addressing individuals and teams' needs, and do it more as the fact that you are a member of the team. Want to help people sort things out. Bring in the right experts. Uh, try to understand where they're having the problems, and embrace adaptability and resiliency. So the creating the project charter and the project vision statement are responsibilities that you may have. We want to build a shared understanding among all the team members. So we don't want to keep things locked up. We want to be able to always share things like the project agreements, vision statement and project charter with stakeholders and with the entire team. You know, as long as people understand what the goals are, you know, they can more easily work toward those. You have to negotiate to reach agreement and buy-in from all of your stakeholders, especially project agreements with the stakeholders, and then roles and responsibilities, priorities, and assignments with the team. And then uphold the agreements throughout the project. What you're going to use, open and reliable communication methods and your leadership power skills. And demonstrate that you're a leader working with the team and when you're working with your sponsors and other stakeholders. Now, project vision statement is something that is really important. The sponsor or the say the business owner who has responsibility for delivering this project, because it's going to affect their P&L. They need to put together a project vision statement as to what the project, in their mind, what the project is going to deliver, who the customers are, and how we're going to do it. So the project vision statement needs to align with the organization's strategic goals and present a clear vision of the desired objectives so that everybody's on the same page. And if it's in a single document, you want to be able to refer to it as your guidepost when uh, when you need to make sure that everybody's aligned. The project manager has to have a good understanding of the entire project, whether it's the technical aspects or the business aspects. You've got to know about both. Okay? Because there will be things that business is asking for that are impossible to deliver. There may be other things that the project team is able to do that in their estimation would enhance the project, the product that they're building. Okay. So what you have to do is weigh each side and come up with the best decision. So you've got to take a long range view. Your view has to cover the breadth of the project itself. Okay, ways you can do that is make sure that ask the stakeholders to elaborate on their vision and to clarify any questions that you have about the vision. Okay, and it's important. This is where you're going to someone at the executive level and getting them to put in writing what they see, what the vision that they have for the project. Okay. You also want to understand what all contracts with external parties are for this project, any of the memorandums of understanding, and you may just see the abbreviation on the test. So MOUs, SLAs being service level agreements, any other letters that, talk about what the project may be delivering, or any of the agreements that you have with either the customers or other teams. Also, you need to find out about any verbal agreements. If some of the executives from the consuming company and the providing company are going out on the golf course and talking things over, as a project manager, you got to keep on your sponsor to understand whatever other agreements have been made. Okay, and also if there are any key emails or meetings between some of your key stakeholders, make sure that you're aware of those and can at least get a summary of what's occurred. And any statements of work that have been issued either for vendors or for other team members in the project. A couple of things. We're talking about a business case document and a business needs document here. Business case is really answers, why are we building this? Where is it going to be in the market? How much is it going to bring back in revenue? And will that revenue offset the investment of what we're putting into doing it? Business case also establishes the benefits of doing this. What are we trying to do with it? And the business case is something that needs exposure to the entire organization. Okay. If we need any add-ons or anything else like that, we can refer back to the business case. Business needs documents. This is a little bit more refinement. What we need to do is identify any of the high-level deliverables. Whether it's in the old days, you used to ship a 1,000-page manual with every switch that you delivered, maybe 2,000-page. What do we have to deliver, and when do we have to deliver it? In PMI's words, that a business needs document is a prerequisite for a formal business case. Describing the requirements, what needs to be created, and or any of the performance milestones that have to be met. So need to establish up front what the success criteria are for the project, and any of the milestones along the way. So you've got to pull from everybody associated, all the stakeholders in a project. Your key stakeholders, on above your level, you've got to use expert judgment, find expert judgment to check things. Now, key performance indicators are part of it. Understand what your overall program needs as your key performance indicators, and also the ones who are going to be operating the systems that you produce, or the physical, buildings or roads or whatever. Okay, we need to be sure that performance is tied to what the customers need. Now, you can also check back if there's historic data on lessons learned. And part of being a project manager is ensuring that there is a lessons learned meeting after the project concludes, and that data is filed somewhere. Okay. Understand what the quality policy is for what you're going to be delivering, and what the user acceptance test requirements are. If the customer is looking for something specific, okay, things that we need to test for. So with a predictive effort, we need to know what the reporting and verification criteria are for the objectives, and we need to identify all the deliverables and objectives and define an acceptance criteria for each one of those. Along with that, because in an adaptive effort, you need to have a list of acceptance criteria for each effort, whether it's a feature or each of the stories that the team will be working on. Also has something that we call, for adaptive projects, efforts, I should say, a definition of done. So it may be something like you need to be able to build this. I'll use software examples. You have to have everything built from the main branch that you have. That it has to be verified, that all the acceptance criteria have to be satisfied, things like that. So all the entire team knows when they're done working on something. You don't want to have a bunch of bleed over. We want to advertise things. We want to make sure that everyone understands the vision. Okay, a couple of different ways that we do that. For adaptive projects, one thing that they're talking about here is a product box exercise. This literally can be, take say an Amazon shipping carton, and that's the size that you have to describe your vision, and make it eye-catching with some illustrations or pictures. Okay. So know what a product box exercise is, and from extreme programming uses the concept of metaphors, where what the team has to produce is described in a non-technical way. For example, the SLC that we're talking about throughout the course here, a metaphor would be that SLC is the living room of Oasis Town. It's a place where people can gather, relax, things like that. Okay. What you want to be able to do is give people a way to tie something that isn't yet created, give them a feel by expressing it in a way that people understand, where they've had experience with it. There are whole courses on XP metaphors, and the definitions are here. Yeah. I'm going to talk about project charters. Uh, there's no one standard format for them, but really each project and each effort needs to have an idea why they exist and what they're going to be doing. And that's a project charter. Okay. Some of the reasons it exists, it authorizes the project overall. It gives the project manager authority to apply the correct resources to project work, whether it's human resources or physical resources. And it defines the rationale and business needs that this project is going to satisfy. Every project should be aligned with the strategic goals of the organization, whether it's overall corporate or within a particular segment of the corporation. And what you want to be able to do is document how this aligns with the vision. And it keeps everyone focused on a unified single project vision. Okay. Now, this isn't the responsibility necessarily of the project manager. Okay. Usually it's done by a project sponsor or the project manager with executive or stakeholder approval. It's not created in isolation. Okay. And remember that at times a statement of work or SOW can serve as a project charter because it outlines what needs to be done. Okay. So in a project charter, it's made up of a number of different things, names, key stakeholders, who the project manager is, and who the project sponsor is. Okay. A description of the project itself. Okay. And may include some of the requirements, whether they're actual requirements or non-functional requirements. It should document the business need, including, say, financial goals or milestones that this will going to help with. You should have a summary schedule and a list of the milestones that have to be hit. So both time and both what needs to be done and when they need to occur. Okay. Any of the assumptions, boundaries, and constraints, especially in some efforts that deal with government, you got a lot of constraints. Yeah, and it's not just like the federal government; it's local governments, especially when you're trying to put up towers or boxes anywhere. Okay. Information from the business case, including success and exit criteria. So, example of a project charter. Okay. Notice it's one page. We have a tentative schedule in there, an identification of the scope, and then a project overview. And that's all it really is with some of the key names up here. All right. So each project usually has a kickoff meeting. And that's where we get everybody together and communicate what is basically on the project charter. And so that everyone understands why they're doing it. Getting people together, especially face to face, helps people bond with each other. And we make sure that there's alignment between the team and the stakeholders. And just having a kickoff meeting announces to everybody that the project's actually running at that point. Communications again. Always think about the communications. Who has to tell people what, and how that communications has to flow. So all the rest of these bullets here talk about that. And what needs to be delivered, who needs to be delivering things. And then, once all the agreements are finalized, you have meetings that are internal, okay, to the development teams. So again, a project charter overview, clarification of team members' roles and responsibilities. Tell people what the results of planning efforts are. And with adaptive projects, what you want to do is initiate the product backlog, so that we've listed all of the features that need to be delivered, and it's visible as to what teams are working on. And especially with hybrids, present product roadmap. All right. We made it. Still have some time for questions. We're going to start on Monday. All right. Any questions? Are you still awake?
Yep. We're
Yes,
here.
sir.
Yeah, we're still woke.
Yes, we're here.
Yep,
Taking it
we're
all
here.
in.
I thought you were all there. I guess so, yeah. So if you
2
don't
hours,
have any,
minutes, and
what's that? All right. So feel free to drop. I'm going to stop the recording once any questions are addressed. Okay. Hope everyone has a good night, and we'll see you on Monday.
Thanks a lot. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
You too.
Is that a
Thank you.
question?
Good night.
Thank you.
Good night.
Good night.